Hello, welcome to Sips of Wisdom, brewing stories of heritage and flavor, one cup at a time.
Hi, everyone. How are you? This is Rochelle Gordon. I'm the owner of Bliss Tea and Treats.
And I'm Tiffany Vakilian, the owner and founder of Speak Fire Publishing.
And today we are having mental clarity.
Because we need some mental clarity.
Yes, indeed. So, one of the things that's exciting about this tea, there's always a story for every tea. And this tea has a very special story. So we came up with this blend during COVID. The kids were out of school for about 6 months. And during that period of time, we had some homeschoolers. Well, all the kids were homeschooling at that point, but there was a group of kids that actually do homeschooling traditionally. And they came in, it was about 30 of them. And during that session, we blended this tea together and they really enjoyed it. So we thought, okay, well, if the kids love it, then the customers are also going to love it. So a lot of these ingredients are actually from my garden. There's some rosemary in there. There's some sage, some mint. The only thing that's in there that's not from the garden, I think, is lemongrass. But everything else is from the garden. And it's really awesome. Tiffany is going to... Have you ever had this one before?
I have not. This is a brand new experience for me, you guys. If you knew how much of her tea that I have purchased and given away, but also kept in my stash.
Yes. Cheers.
Cheers, dear. Oh, that's hot.
Yes. So hold on. I know, just take a moment with it. So while Tiffany's having a moment, this tea is actually good for anyone of any age. There's no caffeine in it. As I said, it's a herbal blend, but it really makes me happy that, I can pull things from the garden and be able to create this blend and have it be good for you. Rosemary is really good for the brain. Sage is really good for the brain. Rosemary is also really good for the hair, as I've always said with our hair tea. And now you're starting to hear more people talking about like hair oils and the rosemary oils. I definitely think, you drink it and you put it on topical.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
My daughter, that big bottle that you gave me, thank you again. She tries to put it on herself. And I'm like, no. Because she will just...
Mm-hmm.
And one of these days, I will show you a picture of my child. She's got more hair than her and me and maybe 2 other people outside. And she is more than happy to just let it go. And I'm here for it, except for when it's time to brush it. But your hair tea, actually, it soothes the scalp. We're going into some darker, drier times and temperatures. And so having that on the scalp for her has been really just another nice tool to put in there because she's got sensitive skin. Yeah. So it has to be all natural. It has to take care of what it's supposed to take care of and not give us any weird side effects and stuff like that, because she will have a very strong reaction. And I don't want it.
Yeah. My daughter Iris, she was just complaining about having dandruff. She usually doesn't have dandruff, but she was complaining about having dandruff, and I told her that the hair tea actually relieves the dandruff. So I used to have like this weird patch right here of dandruff, and it would just show up like right here. And ever since I've used the hair tea, like I don't have dandruff anymore, especially that patch that was really obvious. It has resolved it. And then I, of course, researched it, and rosemary helps with dandruff. So,
well, I want to go on the record.
Again, rosemary.
Yes, this is, and this tastes really good. But it's the heat for a warm day. It's the calming, soothing flavor of it. It's not too sweet. But it's also not too tart, which I have found that, with certain tea dirts, well, because up until you taught me the way,
right?
Certain tea dirts had that weird back aftertaste that just felt like you was like you got hit in the neck with a 2x4.
Right. And this one you can't oversteep. Like, we've had it sitting here for a while and it's still nice and hot, but it's also not tart.
Yes,
which is nice because, like you said, sometimes it just, after tea sits for a while, it just doesn't have a good flavor.
It gets that thing.
Yeah,
it gets that thing. But this didn't, and it doesn't, and I'm gonna keep on sipping. After the break, we're gonna do our sip of wisdom, not just tea. So we'll be back soon.
Yes.
Okay, so now we're going to do sips of wisdom, and
What's yours?
My sip of wisdom is actually you doing the book. I'm really proud of you. Like, I'm really,
Yeah.
I'm really,
I sat in the nail shop yesterday. And
I see
was
you did.
listening.
I see you did.
That's where my inspiration came from. I'm listening to a podcast, and
Oh, wait. Hold on. Let me do 3, 2, 1 so we can hear the story.
Okay.
Oh, okay. But I'm going to come in and I'm going to introduce my sip of wisdom of taking the step of faith to try something and do it scared and stuff like that. And then I'll say, and I want to talk about your book, and because the first draft is done, and then you can take over.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So 3, 2, and welcome back. We're back with our mental clarity. And it's time for sips of wisdom. My sip of wisdom this week, it concerns our friend over here, but there's a story that comes first. My daughter had, last year, she had her very first UTI. TMI, I understand. It was a horrible time because she was terrified to go to the bathroom because it hurt. And we're in the doctor's office. And she's like, no, I can't. And I said, Grace, you're going to do it scared. It's going to suck. And then it'll be done. And I finally got her to repeat that because it took a while just to get her to repeat it because she was in the rafters because she was in so much pain. I'll never forget the scream that she screamed when she finally went to the bathroom. But to this day, when she has to do something that is particularly unfun, she says, I'm going to do it. It's going to suck. And then it'll be done. And sometimes she'll say, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it scared. And it's going to suck. And then it's going to be done. But then she'll vacuum the floor or take the trash or do whatever, thing, or make a really huge, performance or whatever thing. And so I say all of that because I've been lovingly admonishing our friend over here to give me a draft of her book. And when I first met her, when I first walked into the tea shop, I was like, there's no way this is not going to have a book. It needs a book, absolutely. And I believe you said you wanted it to be a coffee book to sit on the table with the beautiful photos and the things like that. And it didn't go that way. And I want you to share that story.
I know. So yesterday, I'm sitting in the nail shop and I'm listening to a podcast. I listen to a lot of podcasts. And someone was sharing her story about writing a book and how she did it in 40 minutes. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. So she tells her story. And I was like, and she said that it was a kid's book, right? And instantly something clicked in me when she said it was a kid's book. And I was like, maybe my book should be a kid's book.
Considering how Bliss Tea and Treats came about with your daughter, it tracks to me because she wasn't, in her 20s. She was young.
Right. So she was 8 years old at the time. So when she said that, now you can hear stories from people all the time about writing books, but sometimes there's one story that makes you go, oh, wait, that resonates with me. So
your story was waiting for that story to unlock you to write your story.
Right. And I've been waiting and kind of looking for that inspiration and what direction it should take. And I assumed that, it was supposed to be this other thing. Well, I sat there and then I just started writing as I'm waiting for my toenails to dry. I start writing. And it all comes to me, it all finally comes to me, and then I can kind of see it. So yeah, I said, I picked the word, and the word was perseverance. And then I wrote it based on that word because I really was looking for something that what has been kind of the underlying message for me.
The theme, the pain point.
Right. And that has really, perseverance has always come up for me. Yeah. And that's the reason why I chose that word. But
so now the book is done and you get to start the unfun part, which is called editing. Because now that we have a beautifully completed draft, we need to tailor it to make sure that it hits the target. It could be the target word count. It could be the target reader. It could be the target messaging, which you seem very on point about, and it does come through very clearly. As an editor, as a publisher, I can't wait to see the images that go with this, because as a children's book, I could easily see it being a children's picture book. And the amount of words you had for it, it's got to be truncated into a certain type of book. But there are books like yours out there that are for older and younger groups. And so we have to curate, if you will, polish, so that the parts that need to be augmented serve that target, and the parts that need to be diminished also serve that target. But you are my sip of wisdom, because you did it.
Yes.
You got it done. I am so, girl.
And I see age
you.
6 to, like, the 6 to 10 age. And I also see it as having, you know, some recipes and some teas in there, and maybe even a sample of a tea or something. So it's like I see it as a very interactive.
You see how the marketing is already in here, because this business person over here is doing her business thing.
Right.
I'm here for it. I think it's great. And as we, as the weeks continue, we're gonna have a great time talking about that. But now we get to give you part 2 of the Wayback Machine called Derry Johnson, because he had details upon details upon details, and we were having ourselves a funky good time. So we'll see you after the break.
Can't wait to continue that conversation.
That need to be addressed that were not being addressed before. From the Black community, from the Mexican community, Samoan community, there was always some issues, primarily regarding policing, that were challenging and not being addressed by City Hall. And all people wanted was just equity and justice and fairness, and that was not happening.
No.
And if you're not at the table when decisions are being made, you're going to be left out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for the first time in the history of the city, you had somebody at the table advocating for you and your family, and we were not backing down.
Yeah.
We were not scared to speak out and speak up. We were not backing down, and we ruffled a lot of feathers.
Yes, you did.
We did. We rocked a whole bunch of boats.
Yes, you did. But I think that's why you won. I mean, a lot of my personal memories, they don't involve you, but they are influenced by you, because I do remember it wasn't a big shift, but there was a shift. I remember as a little kid sitting outside, we're, doing dance videos where you play the boombox and you would make up videos to the songs that came out on the radio. And, police drive by, stop the car, and look, where do you live? And we're like, right here. That's our house. And then he couldn't say nothing, so he kept on driving, But that kind of stuff happened all the time, And I can say I remember there was a shift. I mean, I'm not saying it was like, I can tell one day that it was always happening and one day it wasn't. I just remember, because this is also during gang era. And Rodney King. Yeah. The Crips were on one side of Fireside Park. The Bloods were on the other side of Fireside Park. And there were at least 4 bus stops in the morning where kids had to walk through those parks to get to. And you guys, your council, your mayoral team, you guys were addressing those in real time. It wasn't just in LA.
It was real.
It was rough.
Gangster rap was too popular.
But it wasn't. And then also, I mean, now we get the benefit of Coast Highway, but back then it was Hill Street.
Oh my gosh, Hill Street.
What was it like being in a city where you knew that there was so much work that had to be cleaned up? Like how where do you start?
Unsafe sex work.
Oceanside was notoriously known for the prostitution issues, problems, the gang activity, the drugs, and when you have so many young Marines on a base on Camp Pendleton, which is right next to Oceanside, you got to have a lot of activity in town, especially around payday.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the drug dealers coming down from Los Angeles on the way to San Diego, they would stop in Oceanside, set up shop, and it was bad. Fortunately, we had a city council that was willing to put aside partisan issues and work together as a team, because we all knew that
Everybody suffered.
everybody suffered. And the only way we're going to clean the city up and do better is to try and pull together, and we did that. But it took us about 8 years, almost 8 years, to clean up downtown area and down the valley, Center Street, East Side. And I say that because we didn't have enough money as a city. So we need to find a way to attract outside money to come in and help build the city up to be what we all knew it could be, which would be a wonderful, safe city for families.
Mm-hmm.
But it took a lot of heavy lifting from a lot of different people. And unfortunately, a lot of those folks are no longer here now to enjoy what we are enjoying today.
Yeah.
Okay. And a lot of people put in a lot of sweat, a
Yeah.
lot of people.
So what period was that? From 92 until
From 92 up until almost 2000. Oh my goodness. The murder rate and the gang activity was just, it was bad.
I graduated in 95. My brother graduated in 97.
From Oceanside High?
Oceanside High School.
Because Terry Jr. graduated in 94.
Right. That's
Philip, my oldest son, was in 92.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, a lot of their friends ended up in jail. Some of them ended up
They
dead.
had gang fights. Okay.
Oh.
So Oceanside High School, right out the campus of Oceanside was a whole community. That was West Side, because East Side was on the other
And
side.
the block wall wasn't there.
And the block wall wasn't there. They had so many gang fights.
between East
shooting.
Side and West Side?
Because the I can't remember, it was like something 13, Mesa 13, Bloods, Crips, like, and then Pozole, like they're all in that area of downtown Oceanside, and their kids are going.
Everybody's imitating what they see on the movies,
And
on TV.
and that.
And again, the music.
Yeah. So all of that's happening. My brother Eric got off because the buses would drop off in the morning. They would drop him off in the back of the school.
How old's Art? Is he older?
He's younger. He's the one that graduated in 97. I told him his age. Just know he graduated in 97. He's walking with my girlfriend LaTanya. Bullet was by his ear. And it's like that kind of stuff, because that was back when people were talking about stray bullets, and it's like because there were just all kinds of
Remember when
fights.
Michelle Tate got killed?
Yes. Yes. Like all just needless.
That was at 90.
Yeah.
So you have
And this is what you're battling.
adults
Mhm.
who are advocating and in the politics and trying to make things better, and then you have the kids who are fighting each
Another
other.
problem was,
Yeah.
especially the boys, didn't have a dad around. That was another problem. Okay, because I remember one time, one of my son's friends came up to me and was by himself and said, "Mr. Johnson, I wish I had a dad like you." And what he meant was he wished he had somebody at home to basically keep him in line. A lot of these kids, a lot of these young men at the time did not have a dad at home.
So what happened to the dads? Were they away at war? Like what was going on?
Either they were incarcerated or they just weren't around. We had too many single moms raising these boys that were trying to be men.
Yeah.
You know?
That was my
And
mom.
then they got
Two
wrapped
jobs.
they got wrapped up in the drug scene and the gang activity, and a lot of them unfortunately ended up going to jail.
Was there a shift from where there was, dads in the homes to them not being in the homes? Did you see that shift happen?
Yeah, I did, yeah. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of those dads were incarcerated for drug activity.
Marijuana. Now some went further, some went harder.
Yeah.
Some actually were doing gang activity, because my mom wouldn't let me go on East Side, not because of the Black community, but because of the gang activity.
Oh,
And I went to
and downtown. You couldn't
Yeah.
go downtown.
And I went to Laurel because I was one of those kids that did the gifted and talented education. So I had to ride. My mom would drive. I would take the school bus in the morning to Libby, because I lived down in the valley. So I went to Libby Elementary, and then a special bus, the good kind, would come and pick up a group of us, and we would go up to Laurel, because Laurel was the visual arts school at the time. That's the one that had that particular program. And so when it was time to get out of school, because I'm over in the back by, what church is that? Down at the end of the
Walker
street.
Chapel.
Walker. Thank you, because that's where Miss Eddie went.
That's all.
And
Was Bill Wagner the principal at the time at Laurel when you were there?
I think so.
Bill Wagner, yeah.
I think so, but I can't remember, because at this point I'm in 6th grade.
Okay.
I ain't thinking about the principal. I'm trying to stay away from him because I'm little. But my brother, for example, he graduated from high school at 1990, and I'll never forget this. He had a thing on his wall in his bedroom, and it said, "Drugs are legal, sex is mighty. We're the class of 1990."
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I remember. I won't ever forget that. God rest
graduated
my
in
brother.
1990?
He graduated in 1990, and this is when
He went to school with Jerry Garrett. Now Jerry Garrett's not.
yeah, he went to school with Sayal. He went to school with I can't remember his
Well,
name.
Sayal graduated '87.
He did, but my brother went to school with them. My brother Sayal played on the regular team. He played
basketball.
football. My brother played football and baseball, and so he played special teams. So there was that overlap there. It wasn't like, oh, I'm best friends with Sayal, but I would tell everybody he was. But all of that's happening, and while that's happening, there's the crack and the war on crack being introduced, the war on drugs, cocaine being introduced, marijuana. Everybody knew where the weed man was. Nobody wanted to say his name. So all of that is just
But that was happening in every city.
in every city. Yeah, I'm just saying. But this is what.
But see, here's the deal. Back in 1988, the Oceanside City Council paid for a gang study, and they got this gang study. It was presented to the city council at that time, and it laid out to them what was going to happen coming out from LA if they are not ready for this tsunami coming this way.
Mm-hmm.
And the city council at that time chose not to do much of anything. And when it came down, Oceanside got ran over, it got washed over like a tsunami with this wave of drug activity and gang activity, and it took a long time to recover from that. A long time.
But we have.
Because Oceanside potentially thought they were just a bubble and that it wouldn't affect.
That it would pass through on its way to San Diego.
Was that the expectation?
I think so.
Yeah.
At the time.
Yeah, I could see that being, because I remember being full clueless in my, in my youth.
And the parents were clueless.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, though, because it was just.
Because another tsunami is homelessness,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Well, today.
They've seen it brewing in LA and what it's done, and it's working its way down. And I mean, do you see that as a similar situation?
On the topic of homelessness, keep in mind that with Oceanside having the second busiest transit center in the state behind LA Union Station, you have a lot of traffic coming into Oceanside from other areas, from the LA area and from San Diego, and they come here, number one, because of the transit center. Number two, they come here because they have heard about Brother Beno's and all the free social services that are here in Oceanside. And I said back in my first term that, and I call out a help with this, that Brother Beno's is like a magnet, and it attracts a certain lifestyle to the city, and it caused a lot of problems. And I hate to say it, but I personally think that Oceanside would be better off without all those social services.
Wow. That's a stick.
But keep in mind,
San Francisco has the same reputation.
yeah, but keep in mind,
All the
years ago,
services, people are attracted to that. Then you end up with homeless people coming from all these
but
other
many years
places.
ago,
Yeah.
some agencies like Carlsbad Police Department, they used to pick up people in Carlsbad,
And bring them
drive to Oceanside and drop them off and tell them, if you want to go to jail, come back to Carlsbad. So they would dump them in Oceanside. And that's been going on for years.
Still has that reputation, right?
Exactly.
That San Diego would even ship them up.
Exactly. But Oceanside was known as a place for those in need to come to because of all the social services here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I love it because it's, you do right by your fellow man. But I also see how that could be, that's stress and strain on the system, that if they're not prepared for it, there will be, there's a lot of...
And as you said earlier, it's not just Oceanside. Statewide, it's a problem that has not been solved. And I still say that the way they address it right now is not working, and they keep throwing good money after a bad effort that's not working.
Right.
Yeah.
So what would, if you were still mayor,
Hint, hint.
what would you recommend?
Regarding the homeless problem, well, you look up and down the state of California, I don't care where you are along the coast, it's very, very expensive. Everybody wants to live near the coast.
Not as hot.
That is hot, but it's very expensive.
Right.
If I had to say so as governor or whoever, I would say, okay, let's look at helping those who have a need and do it where it's not as expensive to do it, because to do it anywhere near the coast is very expensive. I would go inland where the land's much cheaper. Maybe go about 2 hours inland to where you have a lot more open land in some of the desert areas, and build small communities where you can help transport people to live in communities that are being built for them temporarily, and then take the services out to these communities and help them get cleaned up, help them get trained up, help them to get reconnected to families or whoever might still want to help them, and then help relocate them to wherever they want to live.
So put the transitional housing more in the desert, and then from there let them
do it in areas that are not as expensive, less expensive.
Yeah.
But first and foremost, you gotta help them to get in safe, secure housing. And you can't do that anywhere near the coast or anywhere near the coast. You can't do it. And then provide the services to help them with training, help them with education, clothing, food, whatever it takes. And it may take a few months, it may take a few years. But what they're doing, the way they're doing it right now, is not working.
Right.
Wow. This is so
Right.
this is
What would you recommend so in the past you said that there was a sense of community, it was a we versus me,
And we were much more willing to help each other. Okay.
right.
And when I said we were more like family, because we were number one, we were smaller, and a lot of us came from the same region, be it Alabama or Louisiana. We were connected. We had a sense of family. You don't have that now, unless you are a real connected family. But even when I was coming up, even if you were not real family, you were still connected like family.
where people actually the day you moved in, your neighbors would come to you, and you would go to your neighbors.
Right.
And then the churches were more connected. They actually fellowship and did things together. You don't see that anymore.
So what is your recommendation for the churches? If there was a magic wand that you could wave, what would you?
He rubbed his whole face.
Well,
Oh, God.
oh my God. Well, it's hard to say because all the pastors that I used to work with, growing up and also while on the city council, all those pastors have passed on. The ones who have replaced them, they seem to be more concerned about their own little church, their own four walls, their own flock within their four-wall church. And I don't see churches reaching out to support each other and also help the community the way they used to. Maybe it's just me, but I don't see that. I don't feel that anymore.
What kind of help do you think the community needs? If you could pick three things, like what if those churches were to come together, what three topics would they focus on?
First and foremost, I would focus on helping some of these individuals who live on the street and in the riverbeds who want help. Because keep in mind, a lot of these individuals do not want the help. They are so drugged out or they're so strung out, they don't want the help. All they want is their space and their freedom and ability to keep living the lifestyle that they now choose.
You left.
Because before you can help somebody, they have to be willing to accept help.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's one. What's another one?
In today's society, I would continue to focus on the youth. Especially, there's still a lot of single moms out there that need help, and they're struggling because it's tough financially to keep a roof over their head.
Especially around here, yeah.
It's very expensive. Very expensive.
Okay, that's two. You got one more.
Oh, one more. Job training. I would try and do more to help, especially the young men who I think need more guidance than young ladies. If you don't want to join the military or join or go to school after high school, to seriously look at it and learning a trade.
Learning a trade, right?
Be it electrical, plumbing, or carpentry, or automotive or something.
Yeah, there's so many out there.
You need a skill in order to survive in this world.
I mean, I even think that there's potentially a shift a little bit away from the traditional college path, right? Because I think some kids are realizing I've done the 4 years, I've incurred the debt, and now there's no job.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Because technology has kind of taken over in so many.
And also be willing to travel. Don't be scared to travel, because just because you cannot find work in this area, maybe on the other side of the country, there's an opportunity. Don't be scared to travel.
Yeah.
And as a craftsperson, a tradesperson, there's work all around this country where that the jobs need to be filled.
Right.
If you have the skills, fill that job.
Why'd you stay in Oceanside?
At the time, family. I would say family.
Girl, he owns his home.
And I was gonna say I'm still in. Yeah, that's a good point. I still live in the very first house I bought when I was 26 years old. Now, down through the years, I've had my real estate license. I still have my electrical license, and I bought and flipped houses down through the years. But the one house I kept is the very first house I bought when I was 26 years old. And that's the one I kept now, and it is very affordable.
Yeah.
It's Prop 13, so my taxes are very cheap, and I'm not leaving.
He said, I'm not leaving. What if Prop 13 is overturned?
I'm still not leaving.
I was like, you still got the house is paid for.
Well, not quite, because over the years I've used that house like an ATM machine. I pulled money out, did some other things, some good, some bad. But in my neighborhood, houses in my neighborhood are selling for $800,000. They dipped, so right now they're right about $800,000 right now.
They dipped to 800,000.
Yeah, because some have sold a little bit more.
But I mean, talk about that, right? I mean, that's the power of home ownership, right? To be able to use that home
and create generational wealth,
right?
Where you can pass it on to your family and your kids. And unfortunately, and this has happened too often. It's happened way too often. A lot of the people who I knew, Black people who have done very well, who have passed on, when they pass on, unfortunately, sometimes their children who are remaining cannot agree.
Right.
And too often, they either sell the property
Or they lose
the property. And that's a tragedy. That should never happen, but it has happened way too often in our Black community.
Yeah. And do they lose it because there's no trust, and they go into probate, and it's a battle in court?
All the above.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
all the above.
My mom is healthy and kicking, and it took her into her late 50s, early 60s to buy her first house. And I said, Mom, I wouldn't have bought this house, but because it's yours, I'm not selling this house, because we're not losing this. But in the very flip side of that, I'll be the first one out the gate saying, Mom, sell your house and we'll use the money to build an ADU on property. Because the point is still home ownership. It's not, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Or if you have room in the back of the home right now and do it.
Hers is a condo.
Okay.
Hers is a condo. But condos are going, she bought, well, let's not get into those numbers, but because she bought during
the market.
No, she bought during the '08. Yeah.
That's when I
the housing crisis.
Yeah, she.
Because I lost 2 houses during that time.
Yeah. But luckily, you didn't lose the one you live in.
I kept the piggy bank.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like how smart it was of you to keep the piggy bank, as it were. That's a whole nother. We should have you back just to talk about that. But we on.
But the 2 I lost, I knew better, and when I bought them, I knew I should not have bought them. But I was gambling. Some people go to Vegas.
He said, "I'll buy houses."
I was gambling. I was a gambler with their real estate. I lost them. That's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's how we learn, right?
Yeah, that's an expensive lesson.
I think I was like around 49 or 50 at that time. So I told myself, well, if I lose them, I have time to recover.
Yeah.
I did, but I can't do that now.
No.
Well, Terry, thank you so much for being here with us today. It truly was not only inspiring, but educational as well. And we are so thankful for all that you've done for Oceanside and all that you continue to do. And thank you for being with us here today.
Well, Rochelle, it's been my honor to be part of this wonderful discussion and conversation, and looking forward to doing another one.
We will definitely have you back because the memory lane trip. Miss Eddie Pearl, that name alone, was a good time. We got to talk about her more. I love it.
And the barbershop and the restaurant on San Diego Street.
Yes, and the
beauty salon.
And both of them.
Progressive.
The one at the top, the one at the bottom. Yeah, the one off of Fusat. Remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, Or-D.
Yes. Yeah. We will be here another.
Well, Or-D was back by the back gate.
No, it was Miss something.
Adele?
Miss Adele?
Yes.
Because she was up to that, because back when everybody wanted a Jerry curl for 7th grade, I went to Miss Adele's and she gave me a Jerry curl. Anyway, we will talk again soon some other time. So
and Tiffany will come in with the Jerry curl.
I will not. I will not. Y'all got this purple hair situation right now. Anyway.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, that's a good.